Life Beyond Diagnosis, featuring your girl Casey, and this is my cancer journey. So the last time I told you guys I was coming with part 2 of how I found out I have cancer. In the last video I told you guys about the biopsy. So after the biopsy, I spent 1 extra day in the hospital just for them to make sure that everything is okay. I went home on the Friday. And they didn't give me any information at the hospital. Because at that hospital they don't speak English. So they told the lady from my school that speaks English to give me the information. I remembered she sent me a message when I got home, and she said if my friend, because my friend was coming to see me, she said if my friend is here already. I said no, and she said I think somebody should be there. I think somebody should be there when I give you this information. Come on now. Once she said something like that, I know it's not good information. I said to her, it's okay, you can tell me. She said, no, I want somebody to be there for you. And I said, okay. So I was just laying down in my sofa, and then this thought came back to me. I always prayed and asked God for a testimony, and I always said I don't want a simple testimony. I want a testimony like when I tell others about what He has done for me. You know, they can be encouraged. And will choose to serve God. And I remember, and I remember when that thought came in my head. I was like, God, I don't want that the one day. Give me something different, no man. Give me something easy. I can't manage it so one year. But you know, this is my testimony. I'm still going through it, and I know God is able to fix it for me. Back to the story. So I was home. My friend came in the evening. The teacher from the school, she called, and she was talking. My friend cried. I was there just listening, and my friend said to me, did you hear what she said? I'm like, yeah, but she is extra, and she loves to exaggerate on things, and I know she will add things to what the doctor told her to tell me. Anyway, I came off the phone, and I was just sitting there, you know, thinking, thoughts going through my head. At that point, they told me I had lung cancer without even receiving the results from the biopsy. So I remember the first person that I called was my mother, and I said to her, I'm gonna die. That's what I said. I told her, they said I have lung cancer, and I said to her, I'm gonna die. And she said, no, don't say that. God got you. And I remember she was on the phone, because at that point I started to cry, and she said to me, give me a minute, let me call you back. And I guess she went and she called somebody, and that particular person called me, and you know, we were talking. I don't want to mention the person's name because I'm not sure if they want to be in the public. But that person called me, and we were talking, and she was saying, don't worry. Things and time has changed. Everything is different now. We are in a more modern world where we have modern technologies and stuff like that. And you know, by talking, I guess it wasn't helping me because I was still crying, and she just gave me a scenario. And when she told me that story, like everything changes. Like I stopped crying, I gained strength. Like before, I wasn't weak or anything, but I was just, I don't know, I was just going through emotions. But at that time I gained strength, and I stopped crying, and I wasn't happy, but at that time I realized that I can beat this, and I will beat this, because as I said, I'm still going through, so I will beat this. So my friends, they came, you know, just to keep my company. At that point I couldn't go back to work because it was really cold, and because I did the biopsy, whenever I'm being exposed to cold, really hurts. My chest really hurts. So I had to stay inside. I stayed home for 3 weeks. I stayed home for 3 weeks. But during that time, they gave me some documents. The teacher, she was supposed to explain everything that was on the documents for me, and she didn't. She only gave me the information to say, okay, they say it's lung cancer. After 1 week being released from the hospital, I was supposed to go back to the hospital, to the clinic, for them to, examine me from the biopsy, and she didn't tell me that part. So I was home for 3 weeks. I didn't know that I was supposed to go back to the hospital or anything like that. I remember somebody told me that after I found out I was supposed to go back to the hospital and put all my documents together and referred me to a bigger hospital, I started to look for a hospital on my own, because the time already passed for me to go to the clinic and everything. So I started to look for a hospital on my own. My good friend, he's Jamaican. He knows how to speak Chinese, and he also knows how to read Chinese, and he put out so much effort for me. And I remember days when I would say, I can't bother, I'm going home, I can't do this anymore. And he would say to me, Casey, you got this, you can do it, just take it easy. And I remember we went to one hospital first, and they, after sitting for 4 hours waiting on my turn, paid money and everything, I went in the room. 1 minute, only 1 minute, she said, "We don't do this here." And I was like, oh my God, I've been sitting 4 hours and they didn't even reimburse me back my money. But that's okay. She referred me to 2 other hospitals, and those hospitals are in Shanghai. I live in Changzhou, Jiangsu, and I had to travel back and forth from Changzhou to Shanghai, Shanghai to Changzhou. We went back to Shanghai to see the doctor at the other hospital that the specialist recommended. When we went, they only had appointment for March and April, and that was too far because this was in January. And we left and we went to the other hospital. That hospital was a cancer hospital. They only dealt with person that has cancer. We went, ended up seeing a doctor that speaks English that was really good. I showed him the results from the biopsy. Let's go back. I collected the biopsy, which confirms it was a lung cancer, but it was lymphoma. So I gave him the results from the biopsy, and he take a look at it, and he said to me, I have to do additional testing. I should do a PET scan. All the other tests I already did, but I should do a PET scan that will tell you the stage and if the cancer has spread throughout my body. And I said, okay. I came back home. At this point, I was so happy because the first hospital, they turned me down. The second one, like the dates were like too far, and I didn't want to wait so long. So this one, they were actually willing to start the process. So I was super happy. I was relief, and then I came back to Changzhou, and we set an appointment to do the PET scan. I did the PET scan, everything is going fine. Did the PET scan, went to collect back my results, booked an appointment, because here you always have to book appointment to see like the specialist. Booked an appointment to go back to Shanghai to see the specialist. I went to Shanghai with all my documents, because remember, that was the last thing to do before I could actually start my treatment. I went back to Shanghai, everything, went in the doctor's office, sitting down, gave him all my documents, and the only thing the man said to me was, "We are not allowed to treat foreigners." I was like, what? I've been coming here. I came here more than once, and like nobody told me this. And he was like, we're not allowed to administer treatment to foreigners. Guys, my eyes were filled with water just looking at the man saying those words. Because remembering at this point I had hope, because everything was going according to my plan at the time. But you know, this now takes me back. It's not what I want, but it's what God wants. I left that hospital. On my way back on the train, I was crying. I was just sitting there, tears running, crying. And I came home, and while I was looking about my dinner, this thought came in my head. We have so many expats living in China. Why not search for an international hospital in China? Oh wow, Casey, you're so smart. I know. Anyways, so I searched and there was a list, and I went through the list, and I found this particular one, because when I searched for it in the Chinese app, everything was in English, and I was like, you know, this one is better for me. And I was so happy. So I found this international hospital. It was by the name of Jaha International Hospital. It's affiliated with the Massachusetts Hospital in America, and I was extremely happy. So the next day, what I did was I called them, because I wanted to make an appointment to see the specialist. So I called them and I spoke with the receptionist. Oh my God, the receptionist spoke English. I was so happy, and I told him my problem, and he transferred me to the cancer center. I spoke with them, we made an appointment, and I scheduled an appointment for the next day, and I went there and I saw the doctor. She was so nice, Dr. Lily. She was so nice. And remember, I had all the documents. I didn't need to do anything extra for them like to start, and I showed them the documents. They uploaded on their system and everything, and she told me that I should do chemo plus target therapy. And you know, I'm gonna ask them the cost, because my school, the insurance that they have, it doesn't cover anything outside of the city where I live, and I'm going into a different province, so you know, I have to pay directly from my pocket. So I asked the lady at the front desk the price, at the cancer center the price, and she gave me a code. It was way out of my budget. And I remember when I left, I sit in the taxi and I was crying. I was like, Lord, you take me here and now nothing. I can't even afford to pay for treatment. And I cried and I cried and I cried and I cried all the way to the train station. When I was at the train station, I was sitting waiting for my train, and I said, let me text the doctor, because we exchange our WeChat contact. So I sent her a message, and I said, you know, it's a really nice place and everything. I would love to do treatment there, but however, the cost is too much. And I told her what the receptionist told me. She said I misunderstood what the receptionist had told me. So she said the money that I would pay, that's for one cycle, which one cycle includes 2 times. So 2 times you'll do treatment, that's 1 cycle. So I was like, okay, that's much better. And she said, you know, to get a better understanding, why not show up tomorrow, and you know, we can talk about the money part. And I was like, okay. Next day I went to Shanghai. We sat and we discussed the payment plan and stuff like that. And I told her I can only do chemo. I can't afford the target therapy. And she said, you know, that's okay. She understand. It was within my budget, within my reach, and I was so happy. I came home with a smile on my face. So because I had the cough, she said that they are going to give me some medication, antibiotics to take before I start the chemo treatment, because once I start the chemo treatment, I can't do outside medication. So those medications, they lasted for 2 weeks, but during the 2 weeks, I think it was like 1 week in, she sent me a message and she was like, is there any progress with the coughing? And I was like, no. And she said, okay, don't take anymore, you just need to start doing the treatment. And I said, okay. So that's it. That's how I found out I have cancer. Remember to like, share, and subscribe, and follow me on Facebook at Casey and Troop, on Instagram at Casey underscore Troopy. That's KACEY underscore TROUPY Troopy. Thank you guys so much. Bye bye.